It's my pleasure to introduce you now to a very, very special person. Pandit Dasa is a mindful leadership expert. He's an author, a keynote speaker, and he's an urban monk. He's considered a top mindfulness leadership expert. He presents the latest in scientific research on the topic of mindfulness. And as a speaker, he's addressed a myriad of Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies. So what's going to happen today is Pandit's going to take us through a mindfulness session, maintaining a movement by movement awareness of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and our surrounding environment. We hope you get involved and we hope you really get something out of this. Over to you, Pandit.
Hi, Emma, and thank you very much for the introduction. I'm very happy to be here. So as Emma mentioned that I spent 15 years of my life living as a monk, I figured I can share a little bit of that story and journey with you and how I came to speaking in organizations on the topic of mindfulness. So I grew up in Southern California in Los Angeles. My parents migrated to the US in 1980 with little to no money. They had very simple and humble beginnings. They were working 7 days a week in Los Angeles. And within a matter of about 8 years, they established a multi-million-dollar jewelry business. Obviously, some luck was involved in that as well. We began living the American dream much faster than we expected to. But as life has its ups and downs, in the early 1990s, my parents' jewelry factory actually burnt down and we ended up losing everything. Went completely broke. Then at that time, my parents decided to explore new business opportunities in post-communist Bulgaria. So we pack up our bags, move to Bulgaria, in a place where no one speaks English, and everything is just in Bulgarian or in Russian. Obviously, a big upheaval for us. Our life had turned upside down. And it was at this time that I began a mindfulness practice, introspecting on the purpose of life and why all these things are happening. We spent 2 to 2.5 years in Bulgaria, moved back to the US, to the East Coast, and my parents set up a small business in New York City. I helped them with that little. Then in 1999, decided to take a little break from how turbulent things have been. And I went to India to live in a monastery, again, just to explore how I wanted to live the rest of my life and be able to just understand my purpose. I was living with 40 monks, waking up at 4 in the morning, meditating for several hours a day. The rest of the day was spent serving one another, serving the community. It was a life of simplicity, humility, and service. I loved it so much, spent 6 months in India in a few different monasteries, came back and moved into a monastery in New York City. I know it's a very unlikely place to have a monastery, but New York City has everything, even a monastery. So I thought I'd spend a few months there, but I ended up spending a total of 15 years living as a monk in New York City. And during that time, I was going deeper in my own mindfulness practice and teaching mindfulness on college campuses around the country, but mainly in New York City. And then 8 years ago, I left the monastic life to bring this message of mindfulness, mindfulness in the workplace, mindful leadership to corporations. And since then, I've been speaking in organizations around the globe. And one of the main messages, teachings that I learned in the monastic life, especially when I was doing all of these mindfulness practices, is understanding the mind. And my feeling is that the mind works a lot like a smart device. And I know we probably all have too many of these right now. And it's easy to close an app on a smart device. Even a 2-year-old can do it. However, the smart device that we have up here, our mind, we've never learned how to close out the apps. According to psychology today, an average person can have between 25,000 and 50,000 thoughts every single day. That's 1 to 2,000 thoughts every single hour. The mind is a very busy place. There's a constant traffic jam up here. And if we don't close out the apps up here, it'll drain our battery and it'll slow us down. Just the same thing that would happen on a regular smart device. So it is crucial, it is vital that we learn how to close the apps up here, the apps that we no longer need. What our mind does is it spends too much time thinking about the past, things that have happened to us 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It has a hard time letting go of the negative, and it has a tendency to replay them over and over again. And every time we replay a negative situation, it causes us more stress and more anxiety. And sometimes we might do this, like we've had an argument with someone and we end up replaying that whole argument all over again in our head. What good does that do us? Absolutely none. It only exhausts us and gets us all frustrated again. When our mind's not in the past, it's planning the future, which is good. Preparing for the future is good. However, when we come up with worst case scenarios over and over again, that's when we're draining ourselves. So, what's really important is, and what mindfulness can help us do, is help us become aware of the different thoughts that are going through our mind and actually learn to press pause on the negative thoughts. Really stopping the thought so it doesn't play itself out in its entirety and then completely just exhausting us. So, we really want to be able to learn to press pause in our mind and imagine how much stress and anxiety we can save ourselves if we can stop negative thoughts from playing themselves out completely. It's not super easy to do, but with a little practice, it becomes easier every time we try to do it. Now, mindfulness is not a spiritual or religious practice. There's a lot of research showing that it can be done in a very secular way. Thousands of corporations are implementing it into their environment. There's a nice article from Forbes magazine that explained that mindfulness can help you become more productive. Again, if you close out the apps that you don't need, you'll be more productive with the work or tasks or projects that you have at hand. The New York Times says that mindfulness can enhance creativity and memory. Psychology Today says it can decrease anxiety, depression, and stress. And the Harvard Business Review says it can help boost emotional intelligence, giving us the ability to understand other people's perspective. Right? How important is that when we're working in teams and working with people of different cultures and different backgrounds? It's so important that we are able to put ourselves in other people's shoes and understand their perspective and where they're coming from. So mindfulness is an incredibly powerful tool that can help us personally in our personal life and also in our professional situation. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to guide you in some short mindfulness practice. And what I'd like you to do is make sure that this is on silent so that if it buzzes, you're not distracted and tempted to look at it. So I want you to please make sure that's on silent or put it on airplane mode just for a little bit. You'll have a chance to turn it back on in a few minutes. And now I want you to go ahead and close your eyes and just sit comfortably. Close your eyes and sit comfortably. And for the next 10 minutes, let's just see if you can stay in the present moment. Let's not worry about our to-do list or what's happened in the past. Let's just stay in the present. And we can start by feeling the weight of our feet pushing down into the floor. So feel the weight of your feet pushing down into the floor. Keep all your attention on the weight of your feet pushing down into the floor. Now feel the weight of your body pushing down into the chair that you're sitting on. Become aware of how your hands are situated. Make sure they're relaxed, that your hands and fingers are relaxed. I want you to now take a moment and bring your awareness to your heart and see if you can pick up on the beating of your heart. Now let's go ahead and start to take a few deep breaths. And I want you to breathe in such a way that you fill up your lungs completely. Visualize your chest expanding, visualize your lungs expanding. Focus only on the breathing process and how it's impacting your body. And when you exhale, I want you to exhale thoroughly and completely. Again, take another deep breath in. Fill up your lungs completely. Make sure that your back is straight so the oxygen can flow unobstructed. Your chest expands, your lung expands, your back straightens. And as you exhale, breathe out all of the breath that you took in. Your lungs are relaxing now. So take another few deep breaths like this. And each time you inhale, you should be able to take in a little bit more breath than the previous time because your lungs have had a chance to expand. And according to research, deep breathing exercises can not only reduce stress and anxiety, but can also help us regulate our emotions and blood pressure. So this is something we can do throughout the day while we're sitting at our desk. And if you compare the amount of oxygen you're taking in right now with these deep breaths to the oxygen you take in during a normal breath, you'll notice we're taking in at least 5 or 10 times more oxygen than we normally do. We get so busy and there's so much going on in our lives that we forget to take deep breaths. We're taking in just enough breath to get by. So stay focused on your breath. Try not to plan. Try not to think about the past. Stay in the present moment, which is all that we have control over. Now I want you to take another deep breath in. Let's do this together. Take a deep breath in, fill up your lungs, fill them up completely. And when you think you've filled them up completely, pause and take in a little bit more breath. See if you can take in a little bit more after you pause. And this time as you exhale, I want you to purposely and intentionally try to breathe out any tension you're holding in your forehead. So just breathe out any tension you're holding in your forehead and relax your forehead. Take another deep breath in, fill up your lungs completely. Now breathe out any tension you're holding in your eyes, your face, your mouth, your jaw. Let your mouth drop down. Let your tongue drop down to the bottom of the mouth. Now your whole face is relaxed, your eyes are relaxed. With the next deep breath in, I want you to lift your shoulders up to your ears. Take a deep breath in and bring your shoulders all the way up to your ears. And once you've inhaled completely, hold your shoulders up to your ears. Hold your breath for a count of 3, 2, 1, and exhale, breathing out any tension you're holding in your neck and shoulders. Take another deep breath in. Fill up your lungs completely. This time as you exhale, I want you to breathe out any tension you're holding in your chest and your back. Breathe out any tension and anxiety that you're holding on to in your chest and back. Take another deep breath in. Again, fill up your lungs completely. As you exhale, I want you to breathe out any heaviness or sadness you're holding in your heart. Just let it all go. Any anxiety you're holding in your heart, relax the heart muscle. Let it feel light. The heart is an amazing organ. It beats 24/7, and we don't even have to do anything to make it beat. It's just happening on autopilot. Now take a few breaths, breathing in and out only through your nasal passages. Feel the cool breath going in through your nose, and feel the warm breath leaving your body through the nose. Cool breath goes in, warm breath goes out. Stay completely focused on the breathing. Try not to plan or think about the past. Stay focused. Once again, come into the region of your heart. Become aware of your heartbeat. And while we're in the space of the heart, I want you to think of 3 things that are happening in your life right now that you're grateful for. What are 3 things that are happening right now that you're grateful for? Gratitude is a very powerful way of shifting our mindset from the negative to the positive. And again, this is something we can do throughout our day while we're at our desk. Now I want you to appreciate 3 of your colleagues, maybe some colleagues that you know and some colleagues that you don't know so well. Try to think of and appreciate 3 colleagues that perhaps have somehow encouraged you and supported you and inspired you. Think of them and wish them well in their endeavors. Take another deep breath in. Exhale, bring your awareness to your eyes. You can slowly, gradually begin to open your eyes. So welcome back, everyone. I hope you're feeling a little bit more relaxed after that practice. And even though we did about a 12-minute practice right now, you can do very short increments of the same practice that we just went through. For example, you can take a minute and do 5 deep breaths and think of something you're grateful for. You can do that each hour if you want. You can do that a few times a day, 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes, bite-sized, very comfortable ways of practicing mindfulness. So it's not like you have to go 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. 1 minute, a few times a day in itself will help us remember that whenever we're feeling stressed or anxious, that we have a tool available with us right now to make ourselves feel a little bit better. So I encourage you all to try it a few times a day, 1 minute each. You can sit at your desk, and that's totally fine. You can do it any time during the day that your schedule allows for. So I want to thank you all very much for your attention and your participation. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.